My neighbors just pruned their beautiful palm tree just in time for increased summer sun in my house. Couldn't they have waited until October?
Sarah, timing's a bitch. You know what is the epitome of unsexy? Noticing your butt is covered in a thick coat of cat fur in public.
Now, Heather, I consider this a level up. Cat fur, dog fur, I'm covered in it, and I'm better than the rest of you.
People and their cold plunging. I'll take a hot bath instead. Thank you very much.
Seriously, have such a good day. Hello, world. Welcome back to
Such a Good Day. The show that wants you to do just that. Episode 233, Sarah Lane.
233 in the place to be, Heather Frank.
Yeah.
What up? I would like just bump you right now if we were in the same
fist
place.
Bump.
But just know that chest bump, like full on boob bump.
Oh yeah, full on. Let's do
bump
it.
the boobs.
Oh,
yeah. I've never actually done that with anybody,
like
but I just feel like that would be fun.
Well, I'm going to be down there next week. Let's make a date.
Let's do a chest bump. Yeah. That's how you know we're legit.
Seriously. And being on episode 233 is, I would say that's pretty legit.
I think so too. 232 last week. Fun palindrome episode. Heather and I had a really good time, but we're happy to be back. As we say every week, we're just going to keep doing the show. And here we are again, ready to talk lifestyle, the highs, the lows, the ins and outs, the good and the bad, and everything in between.
And the evil.
Yes.
Life's cruel ironies, the happier moments in between that sort of wedge themselves in between the bittersweetness, just like little wedge here and there. But no, really, life is good. It's also absurd, but we do like to unpack it all. And we're so happy to have you along for this ride. Because, this show would not exist without you. It would be Sarah and I in a vacuum, just, yakking it up on the phone once a week. And it wouldn't be as fun.
No. I mean, Heather and I, we always talk about the fact that we love doing the shows because we don't live in the same city anymore. We have in the past, we're obviously very good friends. But this is like, it's our check-in. It's like we get to be together. But the bonus is that other people get something out of the show, which is just
exactly.
I was about to say humbling, but I'm not going to use that word because that's for suckers. It's just it's heartwarming, I guess.
Well, it is. Yeah, we're killing two birds with one stone. Sarah.
We're killing birds. A lot of stones.
We would never kill a bird.
Bird in the hand, two in the bush. I don't know. There are lots of like bird phrases where I'm like,
put a bird on it.
Exactly. Yeah, put a bird on it. But when I said humbled out loud, I wanted to throw up in my mouth a little bit because there are a couple of things that, and we're going to talk about this a little bit later in the show, but there are a few things that I've been thinking about lately of like, it used to be sort of just like internet culture stuff. And now it's just like, oh, so uncouth. For example, hashtag humbled. It's like, fuck you. You're not humbled. You're bragging and everyone knows it.
Yeah.
So just stop. Or this was one of my favorites. I don't see it anymore really, but I used to see it back in the day. Like back in the day, like 15 years ago. Hashtag life is good.
Oh, what about blessed? Hashtag blessed?
Oh, hashtag blessed, of course. Yeah, I mean, that's the most obvious one, but like...
It's ironic, really, now.
But like, when someone's like, hashtag life is good, it's like, okay, you had a good day.
Okay, you're a robot, I guess.
Also, like, life is good because we're alive.
But it's also...
But also, it's really, really punishing. So I don't want to hear that shit.
Because no one's going to do hashtag life sucks. I mean, I don't know. I'm sure that hashtag exists out there, but
Probably,
but nobody wants to be a Debbie Downer. I mean, it's not a very sexy thing to be. But Sarah, yeah, this is always a fun conversation. I love talking about how weird the internet has gotten, weird internet speak, and that all those hashtags they're kind of dated now. It's like, I mean, people who use hashtags obviously for their business, like hashtag podcast, hashtag I'm a best-selling author, blah, 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 blah. But do people use hashtags in this sense anymore? I'm not really sure.
Yeah, I mean, yeah.
They're either joking
the
or
hashtag
taking
thing,
themselves too seriously.
I used to be on a real big soapbox about like hashtags were made for a reason, okay? They started on Twitter. It was about finding content that is relevant to your interests. And now people like put, hashtag sentences ironically in tweets
I've
where
been
I'm like,
guilty of that.
I hate that, and for a while I was just like, gosh, I hate everybody who does that. And then after a while I was like, I really don't care that much.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
let them live. They just look like, old ladies. But yeah, you do see some of that still, but less so.
Yeah, less so. I mean, I think people maybe are less annoying in that way, but then, there's other things that pop up that become annoying. And there's never not an annoying internet-like phenomenon. I mean, it just
Right.
it morphs into something else that's annoying or whatever. And we evolve, we get better. In some
Sure.
ways,
Yeah.
maybe we digress, but
Trends, will trend.
they will
Yeah,
indeed.
they
in their
come and
nature.
go.
Yeah. Sarah,
Like all it is.
speaking of the internet and just sort of phone use, I'm curious. I feel like, when you hear someone talk at length about some trip they took that was, turning their phone off, and they went into a retreat and they couldn't be on their phones and they couldn't talk for 2 days or whatever it is. And I'm always like, I'm like intrigued, but I'm not sure if I'll ever do that personally. It's like doing a fast. Like, will I ever actually do a 12-day fast? I don't think so. I'm too hungry. I'm too hungry of a person, or I'm not sure that I am super into those extremes. But I do believe that we overuse our phones, and that, this whole vicious cycle of dopamine and whatnot. So I was curious, and I'm not totally sure about your rituals. When you go to bed, do you plug your phone in the other room, or do you put it next to your bed?
Oh, to keep it out of the bedroom.
Yeah.
So we've talked about this before. I think I'm slightly unusual as far as like modern day internet consumption, because I don't even know where my phone is right now. I have computers in the house. I like a keyboard. I like a laptop.
Yeah.
I
same.
like, like the phone is something that I use when I'm out and about. And often it's really just to like listen to music in my car. Like I don't really want to like talk to people when I'm out and about because I'm busy.
Yeah.
So going to bed at night, sometimes, if it's like, 10:30 p.m., which is right about, my Cinderella time. If I'm not already tucked in, it's time to get ready for bed,
Yeah.
wash face, brush teeth, go to bed. And sometimes I'll be like, oh, my phone is like 5% battery. I should charge it. And I have a charger right by the bed. But almost all the time, I just don't think about it because I want to go to sleep.
Yeah.
I don't want the phone near me. It's not going to help me. If there was an emergency, I suppose that would be, a great reason to always have the phone next to you. But I've got my watch, and my watch is not far enough for my phone that it wouldn't ping me. Like if my mother called me at 3 a.m., like my watch would vibrate and I would probably wake up.
Okay.
I think so. Yeah. I mean, as much as I would if my phone, same thing. So yeah, I will say though, so I got a new TV recently, a few weeks ago. It's huge. It's crazy. I love it so much. But my old TV, which is extremely old, and just like, it's not like a living room TV, but it's perfectly fine. With an Apple TV, you're good to go. Now that's in the bedroom. I was a very staunch no TV in the bedroom person for years, like a decade. I was just like, nah, bedrooms are for sleeping and getting dressed. That's what they're for. Or reading, at the end of the day type thing. But I'll tell you, Heather.
It's pretty
Just
luxurious.
being able to put on a little Vanderpump Rules, as I'm like,
dozing
going
off.
to sleep. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's nice. It's
I
a
feel
nice
you.
option.
When I stay in hotels, which is not that often, but sometimes,
Sure.
I do like
Yeah.
having the TV right there, and I can kind of kick back in bed. It is definitely luxurious. But I guess it's kind of the same thing where, because I bring my phone to bed and I look at it for like anywhere from a minute to like 20 minutes before bed. Elijah he is very strict about putting his phone outside the room. So he puts it in his office, plugs it in.
Yeah.
It's way far away. If someone called him, he wouldn't get it till the morning. And he's always kind of trying to encourage me because I have mine plugged on my nightstand essentially. But I tend to I like to kind of button up a few things, get in bed. I might play a couple like Words with Friends, just like I haven't been playing.
Yeah.
And
A little wind down.
a little wind down. And, sometimes it can get a little out of hand because I'll be like, oh gosh, a whole half an hour passed. I really need to turn the light out. So I realize in these kinds of small habits that you can form where it's like, yeah, just no big deal. Put your phone outside your room. I'm not that disciplined. I don't want to put all these really intense rules on myself. But I was reading this article. This was via Chrissy Rutherford. I follow her. She's a writer. She was talking about, just that morning scrolling thing, because I do that. I basically get my phone, I get my tea, I do my games. I try not to look at the news right away, but I might get sucked into a news story if it kind of popped up and I'm like, ooh, intrigued. And then I'll do that before I do my games. But, your dopamine levels are really high in the morning. And so what I think is really fascinating to me, and I'm really just trying to learn more about this, because sometimes, when you grab your phone first thing in the morning and you're scrolling, and your dopamine levels are super high, then when they drop back down, you're kind of setting yourself up for failure. If you like kind of what she's saying is like, if you lack motivation to go like exercise in the morning, you'll need more dopamine post scrolling first thing in the morning to generate motivation. And I find that I kind of suspect that happens to me a bit, because I will get that first kind of hit from like, I love playing the games. It's just this great ritual. I look forward to it. It's snuggle back in and just like play my games.
Like there are times where I'm like 6:45, I want to play my games.
Yeah.
I'm out of bed. Like I'm like
start my day
motivated to get out of bed because I want to play my game.
Totally. Same. And I mean, I very rarely, sometimes I will get completely insanely busy in the morning and I can't get to it right away. But for the most part, I really try to carve out that ritual. But anyway, more food for thought, just, stuff to think about, my friends, as we navigate this wild world of technology.
Well, and I know we've talked about this a lot. Heather, you and we're pretty similar as far as our like circadian rhythms these days.
Yeah.
But, I talk to a lot of people and I know a lot of people who, they're not early risers. They stay up later than me and they're just as productive, if not more, really. And I just, post 10 p.m., if you were to ask me to do like a very simple task, like play hopscotch, I'd be like, can't do it. I mean, I'm truly depleted as a human,
Totally.
My eyes are still open, but brain's not really here anymore.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm
totally.
ready for slumber. In the morning, I feel like let's do it. Let's play games. I'm going to look at, my utility bill. I'm going to, make some eggs. Like,
wow, you sound
like
so
nothing
excited
bad
about your
has
utility
happened yet.
Yet.
Yeah. Like I'm going
the
to,
key word.
I'm going to crank through some stuff. Like, not even fun stuff, because nobody's bothering me yet. If the utility bill comes in at 11:30 a.m., I'm not even looking at that because I'm busy at that point. Like too many other things have happened that make it sort of like that whole like the opposite of a dopamine hit, where you're just like, life sucks. sucks.
Yeah, totally have those days. But today was interesting because I have a lot of days like this, like yesterday and today, where I'm so hyper inspired. And it's like not even like, it's like I all day long since I woke up this morning, I've been just really productive and like my mind's been really sharp,
fun.
but I'm bouncing back and forth from like reading articles that are like interesting and then like sharing them with other people, having conversations with other people, doing the show notes, doing, my other regular work and just sort of buttoning things up and doing my lists and just, I feel like I'm like the pistons are going, you know what I mean?
Okay.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah. I don't know why some days are like that and others aren't, where there's some days where I'm just like I feel like Garfield, on a Monday.
I mean, I feel like for me, it because I never really know. I can go to bed again, like 10:30 is like that's my magic hour. I even have a little thing on my watch, like it goes like dee dee dee.
Same.
Like at 10:30, like I'm either
Time
like
to wind
I don't
down.
know, Apple Watch, I'm already in bed, or I'm like, oh yeah, I should go to bed. But that's my like wrap it up. You
Yeah.
know, if you haven't already, because that means if I go to bed. Even if I kind of dilly-dally a little bit,
Yeah.
Till about 6:30, that's the better part of an 8-hour sleep, which is great.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I rarely do that. I rarely, get the full 8 hours. But I feel like set myself up for success.
Yeah,
That's what I'm
absolutely.
trying to do. Like, even if I'm, sort of restless or have to get up in the middle of the night a couple times to pee, which happens often, it's like at least just set yourself up for success. But there are mornings where I wake up and I'm like, wow, I think I just slept the better part of 8 hours. Wow, that was awesome. I wasn't too hot, I didn't have to pee, I had water by the bed, didn't even need it. And there are other mornings where I it's time to get up and I'm like, I've been up since like 3. Like maybe I kind of fell back asleep, but I've just been tossing and turning. I'm too hot, like my pajamas are bothering me, there's all sorts of just whatever. And that always ends up making my, the eventual day that I have to have that much harder.
Yeah, you're more like in a kind of a weird frenzy. I mean,
You just start off on a bad
the wrong.
foot.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
You got out of bed on the wrong side. No,
Wrong side, bad
wrong side
foot,
of the bed.
whatever it is. Yeah.
But Sarah, every day is a new adventure. So.
It is. Yeah. It is. So Heather, I don't want to go on and on about the eclipse that we all enjoyed on Monday. Well, I mean, I didn't enjoy it personally because we're in California, so there was nothing to see. Although I did have like a few friends who were just like, oh my God, I'm on the, roof of the Soho house, like enjoying the eclipse. And I'm like, what are you enjoying? You live in Los Angeles. It's like, there's a crescent. I'm like, okay. I mean, okay. I get it. People want to be a part of something big. Sure. I got it.
Yeah.
No worries. I didn't bother with it.
You're not a big space gal.
Not a big space gal. I also just felt like, here I am in my office right now as I'm talking to you, looking out my window, wall of windows to my left. And on Monday, I was like, it's just sunny. No clouds in the sky. Looks like a normal day. And people were like, yeah, but aren't the shadows kind of different? I'm like, no, they're not. It's just sunny. Yeah, I mean, listen, I want it to be cool, but it's just like, let's not pretend that it's like cooler than it is. However, if you were in certain areas of the US, which many people were, or traveled to be part of that, it was a really big deal, which is super cool. I was watching the NASA live stream and I actually had to turn it off at some point because I was getting like kind of teary, because people were just like, oh my God, I can't believe it. Wow, totality. And I'm like, oh, that looks really fun, kind of, because people are losing their minds.
Yeah. Yeah.
So yeah, I don't know. I don't know how much you were clocked into all that, Heather.
Well, it's really funny because I'm actually usually really into space stuff and I get excited about this stuff. I mean, in 2017 there was another eclipse. I believe it was a full one. But I think it was very similar.
Yeah.
And I was on the East Coast, and I have
really remember the
a
details,
cool photo.
But yes, 2017. Yeah.
Yeah, of me looking at it. I think I was wearing a Led Zeppelin shirt, and I was looking at it with the glasses, and I remember really digging it. And it was like, you saw the black, the whole thing was black, and then you have like the rim that's kind of like the sun, the golden kind of rim, and everything, had those kind of crescent shadows, and everything had like a diffusedness to it that was kind of cool visually, like as if you put like a slightly darker filter on the world. And I don't know what it was. It was like, I read a lot about this eclipse. I was definitely up on it, knew what was going on, and I was interested in it, as I usually am. But when the day came, I mean, it was Monday, and so I was like busy, and I had a conference call at 10, which was right smack dab when it was happening. And I remember, and so again, like I kind of wish I would have made a bigger deal out of it, because like I said, it does excite me. I kind of kicked myself at the end of the day. I'm like, man, I didn't even get glasses. Like I didn't even try to get glasses. So what happened was I did this conference call, and while I was on it, it was a long one. My desk, when I look at my computer, I can look out the window toward the ocean, and there was that vibe of like a slightly darker filter on everything. Like the ocean, it was a clear day, so it was a beautiful day. The ocean just kind of was like dark blue in like kind of a inorganic way. It was like, whoa, that's a weird blue that the ocean is right now. And same with the sky and the flowers, and the grass was just kind of this darker hue. And then I went into the bathroom, and we have this like really small square window above the toilet, and I was kind of like, I was like, where's the sun? And I'm like looking through this tiny window, like, where is it? And then I ended up finding it and looked directly at it without glasses on, because I'm a dummy. And
Way
I
to
totally
go, Trump.
like, yeah, I know, such a dummy. But I saw it for a split second, eclipsing. And then I got like that burned like mark on your eyeball, that's like kind of like a iridescent
where you see it
squiggly
for like,
thing.
Yeah.
And I saw that for like 15 minutes, and I was like, oh, fuck. I like fucked up my eyeballs. This is bad. Like I was kind of worried for a second. I'm like, why did I do that? I didn't mean to, but it definitely was like strong. It was like a strong, like bright light. You're not supposed to look at it. So yeah, I kind of failed at the, attempt.
But just real quick. So the strong bright light, like I get it. Yes, don't look directly at the sun. You're gonna burn your retina, et cetera, et cetera. But I feel like a lot of people, not you included, Heather, but a lot of people are sort of like, they got the impression, because there's so much sort of like, especially with like school children, like you got to wear the glasses. You don't want to look up at the sun, So people think like, oh, the sun is stronger, and it's like, well, actually, no. It's just that you don't look directly at the sun the rest of the year.
Yeah. And why wouldn't it?
So it's like, so you do because you're curious, and that's where you run into problems, to the point that a friend of mine lives on the East Coast, very nice person, very smart, actually works in space exploration, weirdly enough. But he was like, should I like get like glasses for my dog? I mean, she loves like our front room, and kind of, loves to kind of like soak up the sun. Like, would this be like a bad idea? And I'm like, does she look at the sun normally in that room? And he's like, I mean, I guess. And I'm like, because actually it would be less strong, because, eclipse.
It's covered. Well, that's exactly what I was just going to say, is like, basically the whole sun is covered by a black circle.
Yeah.
And then you've got the edges. So why would it be worse for your eyes? I mean,
I think it's well, I mean, there are a lot of reasons, but I mean, I think that the big takeaway is that people don't look and stare at the sun normally.
True.
I mean, it hurts. What are you getting out of it? I mean, there's just no reason, right? That's what sunglasses were made for. Or just, or baseball hats, or, both. Mm-hmm. But But this, makes people want to look at the sun. And
True,
that's
you're
where
right.
you
That's
get into
true.
issues because it's like, oh, something's happening up there. But it's like, okay, but don't look at it directly. I mean, it's like really bad for you.
Well, yeah. And then animals. I mean, dude, animals totally seek out sun. I don't know if they stare right at it, but I mean, they probably have the same instinct to like not stare at it. But yeah, during an eclipse, that's a good question. Interesting. We'll have to pose it to the internets and see what they have to say.
Yes. All the veterinarians out there listening to us, do write in hi@havessuchagoodday.com and let us know, what we should tell our friends
And
whose
our
dogs
pets.
may have been looking at a totality eclipse.
Yes. So, Sarah, I know you kind of know this about me, but I travel the world and I have many celebrity friends in my dreams. And it's this crazy thing that I've always had. And it's a huge joke between me and my boyfriend because he's always like, God, you always have these dreams about some random celebrity that I don't even think about or talk about. And I don't know what it is. Maybe I had just seen a movie with them in it. But I did have a very, very vivid dream, like so vivid to the point where right when I wake up, it's like that was my life. But then I'm like, oh, wait, no, this is my life. It feels so real. And I had this dream that Kristen Stewart, K-Stu, invited me to her compound that spanned like many city blocks. It was in some foreign metropolitan city. I don't remember where. But like we were buds and she was like a normal human, like she was a celebrity, but like to me, she was just like a buddy. She just wasn't fancy and wasn't a, big star. And, she was just like my bud. I had known her for a really long time and I knew her in my dream. Like I knew who she was as a person, her characteristics. And I find it to be so extraordinary sometimes how I really feel like I'm living like another life. And I get sad when I hear, like my sister talks about how hard it is for her to sleep. And I try not to like talk about how good of a sleeper I am, because I don't want to brag, but I literally go places. Like I feel like I live like an exciting life, like a second life. Like I'm getting like a 2-for-1, like I've got my day life and then I got my night life. And it just,
Yeah.
I'm so grateful for it, I guess. And it sort of feeds my creativity. And I notice throughout the day, like when I do have a very exciting dream life, some nights I don't really remember what happened. And then, but I do have it very, very often when I have a super vivid dream where I'm like, was that something I really did? So as I move on with my life, sometimes I'll look back on my dreams and go, wait, did that actually happen? Not the case do stuff, but like other little details where I'm like, maybe that wasn't a dream. Like, and so it's hard for me to distinguish sometimes between what was something that I dreamt with my subconscious and what I actually experienced. Anyway, I was curious if y'all out there have dreams like this. I mean, I don't know if they call it lucid dreaming, but I am just I've been this way my whole life, even when I was a
lucid
kid.
dreaming is, a term for when you're inside a dream and you know it. Mm-hmm. So you're like,
happens to me
okay,
sometimes, for sure.
I can kind of write this narrative. Like,
Yes.
I can jump off this cliff. I know I'm not going to die. I'm just in a
Yes.
dream.
Sometimes I have that. But more,
Yeah.
I think more along the lines of just
I have
vivid.
that very rarely. When I do, it's awesome. Because I'm
Yeah.
like, oh, wait, I'm not in college. I don't have to worry about going to class. F y'all.
Yeah, there's sometimes when I have these dreams that are so real that I wake up and I'm just like, whew, like, wipe my brow, like, wow, I'm in this apocalyptic and scary. And then I'm just like so stoked that like that isn't my life. But, for however many hours I was in that dream, it felt so real, like scary real. I find it to be the most fascinating thing. I think if I were to go back to, study something else, I would study dreams.
Yeah, I don't remember. I don't know. I was having crazy dreams this morning. It was also, I don't know if you're the same way, Heather, but there are certain times of the night, like, earlier I said I often will, wake up at like 3, 4 a.m. and just be like, I have until 7, but I can't go back to sleep. I can't get comfortable. I can't relax. I'm thinking about the day. But on the days that I am able to do that, I often have like the most wild, vivid dreams. They don't happen right when I first go to sleep. It's all like right before I have to get up. And that's why like I wake up and I'm like, okay, that wasn't real, but like, God, it felt so real.
Yeah.
It felt so real life.
It does.
And
it's
wild.
wild.
I don't know.
And I know a lot of people who don't dream like that. They a friend of mine who lives up here, actually, she's like, I don't really dream. I'm like, well, you probably dream, you just don't remember. But to remember and to be aware of this experience that
but
you
it's like,
had.
if you don't remember, do you dream? That's a funny question, right? It's like,
I don't know. Oh yeah, it's like, did the tree fall in the forest? Yeah.
are those dreams happening or not? I mean, I'm sure like the brain stuff is firing, all night, because that's how we all sort of, I don't know, our brains kind of reset for the next day.
Totally.
But yeah, that's, I mean, I've had, not even that long ago, I had a nightmare. I happened to be, in the same room as somebody who was like, whoa, Sarah, whoa, what is happening? I was like, oh my gosh, did I scream out loud? Oh, God. I was having a nightmare.
Yeah.
But like in real life, I was like, ah!
You're like falling off a cliff or something. Yeah.
Something.
Yeah.
Like, I don't even know what it was.
Yeah.
I don't remember anymore. And I've witnessed that with other people, but even like dreams that are not nightmares, like, a nightmare is, I'm scared, I'm running from something, I'm falling, something terrible has happened, nightmare stuff. It's like, that's a certain kind of dream. Nobody wants that. But I have those. It's anxiety, I think, just
absolutely.
kind of, manifesting itself, while I'm trying to, sleep and be not anxious. But then there are other dreams that are like, they're not nightmares, but they're so bizarre. I wake up and I'm like, that was really messed up. Like, what is up, Sarah?
Yeah, sometimes I have a dream and I don't
like,
even
did
want
I
to talk
eat
to
too
someone
much
about
chili paste last night?
it. Chili paste.
I don't know. What is like? I don't
Like
need
certain
like
spices or something.
Yeah, like the dreams where you're like, that was just really bizarre.
Yeah.
And not in a good way. Like,
Yeah.
like if I were, I sometimes go like, I mean, Heather, you and I, we've watched our fair share of like very bizarre movies together, because you and I both kind of like that whole thing, where we walk out of the theater and we're like, what was that?
Whoa.
What just happened? But it's like, I don't want to wake up from a dream and feel that way. I want to go pay money, get some popcorn, and, choose that for myself on any given Sunday.
Speaking of weird movies, Sarah.
Oh.
I'm glad you brought this up. So the movie that I worked on a year ago, the Sasquatch Sunset, y'all, we've talked about it a few times on the show.
Yeah.
It is officially coming out into theaters on the 19th, which is next Friday. And there's been a lot of publicity around it. There was a really cool, I'll send it to you, Sarah. There's a cool article in the New York Times. They did a kind of a PR stunt. One of the guys, Nathan Zellner, he's one of the directors. He was an actor in the movie too. He was one of the Sasquatch. He was like kind of the big tall guy, and they released him. They let him loose in Central Park, and took video and photographs and kind of saw how people reacted to him. And it was kind of a cool stunt. I thought it was very funny. I'm excited. It's like, I feel like there's just a lot of buzz around it right now, and I'm going to go see it. I don't think I can see it on the 19th, but probably the 20th. I'm going to try to go see it down in LA with some people. And I'm excited. I'm excited to actually see it on the silver screen and like actually, it's going to be really wild. I've never seen anything like that.
Heather,
TV.
I also live in LA, so maybe I could be part of this fun, theater troupe.
Well, it's at 4:20 on 4:20, so it's not hard to keep track of
Got
that.
it. Okay. Yeah.
I'm sure they
Wink,
did that on
wink.
purpose. Yeah, even though it's not even a stony movie. I mean, it's not a stoner movie in the sense that drugs are used in the movie, but I think maybe for stoners,
Maybe if you were to imbibe, you would,
it could be fun.
Yeah, sure.
Well, it's funny.
I mean, it's not going to hurt you.
I've had some, exactly. I've had some friends ask, they're like, can I take, I have a friend who has like a 12-year-old. Do you think I could take, and I'm like, yeah, I mean, it's rated R, but let me look at the rating. There's a little bit of blood, but it's not like scary. It's more of a comical blood. And then there's, there's no swearing because it's all grunting. There's no actual language. But they are nude. There's a lot of nudity. But the funny thing about there being nudity is they're not actually nude.
That's the best thing you've ever said, Heather.
What?
That's the best thing you've ever said is like,
what?
Well, there's no profanity because nobody's talking. They're just grunting.
Yeah, they're just grunting. I mean, and I thought it was so funny the way they said there's like extensive nudity, but they're not wearing clothes, but they're covered in fur. So it's like
right.
nudity.
I mean,
yeah,
my dog doesn't wear clothes either.
Exactly, but there are a few like genitalia, but like in a comical way. And it's going to be a wild, viewing experience. It's not like any other movie I think you've even seen. So yes, 4:20 on Saturday the 20th. This is happening. I will keep you posted. Yeah, I'm hoping to just get a gaggle of people to come to the theater and we can be rowdy. And
I'll be one of
really
your
fun.
geese.
That would be awesome. I would love that.
Absolutely. All right. So as we're kind of talking about, social media and the way that Heather and I, either have phones by the bed, nightstand style or not, and everybody kind of has their own thing. I tend to just sort of say like, do what works for you.
You do you.
Yeah, you do you. I suffer from, well, I don't know if I suffer from insomnia, but I have it. I feel like I suffer from it, sometimes. Yeah. But anyway, that's all about sleeping. What I want to talk about is not about sleeping at all. It's more about just dealing with social media while you're awake. And Heather, we are on episode 233. We have talked about this many times in the past, but one of the things that you and I were talking about, I think it was yesterday, just kind of, off-channel conversation, was you had mentioned like, oh, did you see so-and-so's latest like Instagram story? And I'm like, oh yeah, no, because I never watch stories. And you're like, you've missed so much of my life. So much of my life because like I love sharing through stories.
I just like to pop stuff on there. Just like it's so easy. Just like boom, 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 and you can just make a little like collage.
See, and I feel like stories for me, as a creator, from a creator standpoint, I'm like, I don't know. It's like there's too much pressure. I'll just like find a photo, maybe a video, but usually a photo, and just post it when I feel like it. That's my comfort level with all the stuff.
I find more pressure from doing a regular static post that lives there always. Like I kind of gruel over it a little bit more, where I'm like, this is going to live here. This is going to be... But I feel like I should switch because it would be nice for my stuff to be actually, I'm like, sometimes I want to access my stories and I know you can, but I like having my little collage of my life, and if I have it all in stories, then I have nothing. It just disappears.
Yeah. So I'm looking at my Instagram right now because this happened just earlier today. So I have two Instagram accounts. One is mine. One is Otis the dog's Instagram, Otis Reading Lane. Please follow him. He loves, friends. But when Otis is doing his thing, I don't go back and forth all that often. Like I'll be on Otis's Instagram and like I won't switch accounts for like a week kind of thing, and like somebody will be like, oh, did you see so-and-so's thing? Or I'm like, oh, Sarah Lane's following that. Okay, let me go back to that. Like it's just
kind
whatever.
of not that easy to switch back.
I mean, it is, but
Yeah.
I just like, I don't know. Sometimes I want to hang out as my dog.
Yeah.
And just
I get it.
look at other dog content. It's like,
Yeah.
there's,
It's easy.
nobody's asking too much of me type thing, and I don't have to like look at people's babies, it's all like puppies.
Yeah.
But because of that, I do miss things. I mean, not even talking about stories, which of course I would miss anyway. But just today, because you and I were talking about it, it got into my head. So I was like, yeah, let me like log back into, Sarah Lane Instagram and like see what's up. And in my messages, it's like I've been added to like a variety of stories, but the stories are now, they've expired. There's no way for me to like see what like where I was even like mentioned, and like these are friends of mine, so like no big deal. I'm sure it was like a cute like maybe like a memory or something like that. But I'm like, this sucks. This is why I don't like this stupid ephemeral stuff. It's like I get why it is fleeting and that, like you said, Heather, it makes people feel like less pressure. Yeah. You put it out there and then it's gone and then,
and it's
like
very
the wind.
casual. It's like the stuff I post on stories is very like, I don't know if I want it on the permanent feed. I'm just sort of like, it's sort of like an observation or quick little blah, blah, blah. Like, I don't know. And it's just more fun for the moment, I guess. But then I see other people doing the same thing with they'll do like a collage, in the main feed. And I'm like, I should do that more. Because then I'm like, this is something where I could keep track of like all my, experiences or whatever in like a feed. And I like that. It's like a scrapbook. I like the scrapbook element of it. But it is true. I was thinking, Sarah, that you do miss people's lives. Like even some of your like best friends, you're like, oh my God, I have no idea what they're doing, even though sure, what I'm doing. It's not that. But in terms of like day-to-day stuff and sort of the visual elements of their lives, I mean, it's just so interesting how, and then you've got those people who don't post at all, and that don't even get on Instagram. So they don't see your Instagram life. I mean, I know some people up here that have never even had Instagram. And it's a bit of a weird thing for me because I'm like, well, shit, he wanted to see some photos from my trip to Hawaii. I'm like, well, like, didn't you see it on Instagram? It's like, what am I going to send you like a library of my photos from my trip? So yeah,
right.
It's all very interesting.
Yeah. Well, and that's funny because it's like, people will now joke about like, remember on Facebook when, somebody had like a birthday night out and like uploaded like 25 photos from like dinner
yeah,
and like tagged everybody. Cause it was like, that's kind of what we were doing back in those early days of like, we need to make sure that, we've tagged the appropriate people and everyone knows that there was an event, call it something, all good. And, now it's sort of like, if someone does that, you're like, are you okay? I mean,
yeah, like at your location.
It's
like
a little
I often
much.
don't even put my location because it feels like a lot. Like, I'm just like, I don't know.
Right.
Too much disclosure.
Of course. I mean, there's a very real safety aspect of that. Like if I take a cute photo of my dog, sorry, full disclosure, sometimes I run my dog's account. He doesn't actually run it completely himself. But I'm like, they don't need to know where we were. What does it matter? Like, it doesn't help my like cute, picture slash caption. But yes. So anyway, the whole kind of people trying to tag each other in stuff works to a point. And I don't spend a lot of time on TikTok. I know a lot of y'all do out there. And I just don't. If somebody sends me a link and is like, this is going to be really funny, I look at it and often it is, and then I'll be like, okay, follow that person. But I don't, that is not a open up a tab, look at TikTok every day type thing for me at all. Instagram, I do though. I do.
Same.
Well, on my dog's account. On my personal account, more like once a week. But, Yeah, then I see these messages where it's like, oh, so-and-so, added you to their reel. And I'm like, well, hope it was good because it's gone now. And oh, well.
Yeah. Yeah, no, it's sort of the constant sort of, none of these platforms are perfect, and it's hard to, I don't know. It's hard to participate sometimes when you're not in the mood, but then you feel bad because you missed something. I mean, you can't win, Sarah.
No, you can't.
But here's what resonated with me this week. Sort of a pick of the week. Do you like how I just created a new show segment, Sarah?
I do. Yeah.
Yeah, I thought this could be fun. I was just sort of thinking about this for a while and like talking to my sister a lot. Because she kind of tends to be more of an anxious overthinker kind of person. I have to like talk her off the ledge about things and life and the world and how, kind of chaotic it is right now. And the constant pressure to like know all the information because it's all at your fingertips, just like the typical pressure of the information highway of, just trying to be on top of it all. It kind of is a good segue from what we were just talking about is it is hard to keep up with people's stories and what is going on in everybody's lives. And we have a lot of friends. We're very popular. Hashtag
right.
Humble. I just wanted to mention, I don't want to get too into the weeds with this because we could. And maybe I'll bring it back up in a later episode. But I listened to a really fascinating podcast yesterday on Fresh Air, NPR, from an author and a podcast host. Her name is Amanda Montell. Very smart cookie. She talks about a lot of things. She actually has a podcast called Sounds Like a Cult. You might be interested, Sarah, because she talks about cults and sort of what how they sort of breed this collective thinking and how people start believing in like conspiracy theories and that kind of thing. So that's like one thing. But she also talks about how our brains are like so overloaded with like this constant stream of information in the information age, and how weird that life seems to make less sense now, even though we're living in an information age. And her book is called The Age of Magical Overthinking. Yeah, so she talks about all kinds of things, but the one thing that struck me was just this idea of why isn't life more organized and less chaotic? Because we've got the internet, we've got all these things, and then everything just seems a little bit more chaotic. But she also talks about this thing called the halo effect. And this is sort of in line with a lot of, you watch a lot of reality TV, you watch a lot of TikTok. I don't do either of those things. Maybe I'm missing out, maybe I'm not sure. But she basically talks about this idea of, you see a pop star and you assume that they're also really cool and fun and kind and worldly, or you enjoy someone's fashion sense and you jump to this conclusion that they're like gregarious or they speak other languages, and, where we have like no evidence of like who they are. And it sort of sets up people for this psychological failure, which is, following someone on the internet and perceiving that they're someone who they are not. And then you look up to this person, you put them on such a pedestal, and then you're like kind of disappointed. Very interesting stuff. I highly recommend it. She's also writes for Esquire and she writes for other things. Again, her book is The Age of Magical Overthinking. I really think this is something that our audience would be interested in. So that's sort of what resonated with me this week. I did buy her book, so I'll report back. Definitely some good food for thought. Like I said, I only listened to the one podcast. So I only could, sort of unpack a little portion of what she talked about, but extremely smart chick. Email us at hi@havesuchagoodday.com if you have any comments, or let us know what's resonating with you right now. We would love book or movie or music recommendations, podcasts, whatnot. And don't forget to spread the good word about Have Such a Good Day while you're at it. hi@havesuchagoodday.com.
Indeed.
Thank you.
Indeed. Speaking of how to spread the word, if you're a patron, thank you. We appreciate you more than you will ever know. Patreon.com/have such a good day is where to find out more about how to directly support our show. We tell you every week, but hey, you might be listening and being like, maybe this is the week that, I might convert into a patron. It is for as little as $1 a month. But, you can get crazy if you want to. But for the $5 a month and up level, you can join our Discord. We got a great bunch of folks in Discord. We've really become like great buds. I hope
for sure.
I hope they feel the same as we do. But just a cool, just nice group of folks. Really interesting, great stories all over the world. It's just awesome.
It's a good crew.
Yeah, it's a really good crew. Can't thank y'all more about that. But yes, for patron curious folks, this will allow you to get a ad-free version of the feed. A lot of people, just don't like commercials. So this is a great way to just get rid of those. Otherwise, we will always offer the show free for you. So you've got choices. But again, please do consider directly supporting us. We couldn't do it without you.
Exactly. Well put, Sarah. And we do have a couple new and increased patrons. Hammock, which I love that name, and Douglas.
I love a good hammock.
Yeah, and I will say I kind of have a little bit of a crush on this patron. I don't know him personally, but I really love his emails. I think he's a great writer, and I just always find his stuff to be super fascinating and very thoughtful. And he wrote us, his name is Paul. And sorry, I hope you're not blushing out there.
Okay, Heather, rein it in.
He was commenting on when we were talking about retail therapy last week. He says, the segment on retail therapy made me bristle. I don't know what it says about me, but recalling weekends as a teen, wandering one local mall or another, gravitating to some stores and avoiding others, triggers some kind of deep unease of time mindlessly wasted, perhaps. So much so that the last time I entered a mall was ages ago, and it literally brought on a panic attack. That feeling of I have to get out of here ASAP is not one I'd like to revisit. All that to say that even scrolling websites and social media to approximate that window shopping pastime makes me reflexively not want what people are selling. I assume that it's all connected mentally for me. But when I see the same ads for the same things across Instagram and email newsletters, YouTube reviews and such, I find myself thinking I'm onto their games and I'm having none of it. Close tab, close app, bye-bye. I know they're just trying to exist and operate by the rules of modern economics, but they also want me to forget that I have things which I already don't use enough of, to have justified purchasing, and yet that little buy now free shipping pill saying happiness awaits is following me around like the good dedicated web cookie it is. Stay sane, internet friends. Very well put.
Very well put, Paul.
Yeah.
Here. Yeah, I mean, listen, I was a mall kid as well. I love malls.
You still do?
Oh yeah. I mean, but I also, you put me in a mall, talk to you in 8 hours. I'm good. Bye. But also like, I don't go to malls that often. So for me now, it's like, this is like a fun event. I used to like be dropped off at the mall because my parents needed to put me somewhere.
Yeah, totally.
So that me and, my friend weren't just like climbing the walls all day kind of thing. So like, I get it. A mall is, it's nostalgic for me, but I mean, in many ways it's like truly the worst.
It is.
'Cause it's
I'm the same. I have a really hard time with malls.
Yeah. Well, 'cause it's, it's all just, a very in your face, everything's for sale. And trying to trick you kind of into buying.
I feel kind of trapped too. Like when I go into like a casino where you're like, where's the exit? I feel kind of claustrophobic. The smells from like the fried food, like at the, like, I don't know, there's.
Yeah. Yeah.
Not a big
fan. But
fan.
I mean, to your point, Paul, because I realize, what the point you're making is like, okay, malls, not good. Panic attacks, not good. Nobody wants that. But there are certain online behaviors that can trigger that same type of thing, which I really do, I empathize with that. I feel like we're all, everybody, like, you and me, Heather, and everyone listening to the show, I feel like we're all smart enough to know when, we're being,
being marketed at.
Yeah, served up to, whatever the term is. Like, we know that that's happening. And sometimes you're just like, "Ugh, you should have done better. I'm not buying this." And other times I'm like, I know what you're doing, but like, these are great pillows.
Yeah.
And then like, yet other times where I'm just like, I don't even know this brand. I'm buying these shoes.
Just being impulsive. But, I think ignorance is bliss. And when we were younger, going to the mall was fun because we didn't think about marketing and we didn't think about consumerism and, piles of garbage like encompassing, the planet Earth. I mean, we're older now.
Like fast fashion, not a term I thought about when I was 11.
We didn't care about that. We wanted whatever we wanted, and we never really overthought, about the situation. So nowadays, I think it's too much information that ignorance is bliss.
I think also a lot depends on where you grew up. Were you in like full on suburbs? Were you in a city? Were you in the country? I mean, I would say my upbringing was, I always say like I grew up in the country, which I did, but I wasn't far away from a suburb. I could go to the mall, for the day and then come back, to my apple orchard where I lived, kind of thing. But I mean, I didn't go to the mall to buy things. I mean, of course I would have loved to buy everything, but like my mom didn't drop, me and Gina Lewis off in the morning to like buy things at Macy's. She was just like, don't leave the mall. Okay. I'll be back in 8 hours. And we're like, great.
Totally.
Like maybe we had like $5 for like Sparrow pizza, but we weren't like buying things. We were just hanging out there. And there were a lot of other kids there.
Yeah.
That was very, very normal to us.
Totally. It was kind of a social thing, and now it's kind of like we don't really have, who has a lot of time to just wander a mall? I just don't really have a lot of that free time. And I would probably choose to do a lot of other activities before I would choose to do that. I mean, unless I really I was beelining for Sephora and I needed this one, like an eye pencil or like I need something very specific. Those are the times that I find myself in or near a mall, is because that's where those places are.
Well, I mean, that's why, like that, I just had this conversation with somebody the other day where I'm like, I'm going to go to Target. Do you need anything? And they're like, why are you going to Target? And I'm like, well, I need like eyebrow pencil. It's like, do you need it today? No, but like, it just like gets me in the door. Yeah, and then like, there's probably other things.
Yeah, exactly.
Right. Like, it's mall-esque. It really is.
It is mall-esque.
Because you're just sort of like, oh, batteries. Yeah, I needed a 9-volt battery because my, stupid smoke alarm is being weird. Like there's always something.
There is always something.
I don't know. I mean, there are people who don't like to run errands. And I mean, I don't like to run errands under duress. But I'll tell you, working from home and doing, like what we're doing right now, it's like, it is living the dream in many ways, but boy, when it's over, I'm like, I need to get out of my house.
Yeah, you do.
And so I'm going to go to Target and buy a battery.
Sometimes Elijah just goes to like the local health food store just to get out. I'm like, what are you going to get?
Oh, yeah.
He's
and
like,
just look at nutritional labels.
Yeah. He's like, I'm just going to wander around and just like, I'll probably get something, but I don't really have a point 100%. Of where I'm going.
I feel that so much. Like someone's like, oh, grocery store, like, ugh, the worst. And I'm like, I go there to escape life.
Totally. Yeah.
I'm just going to look at lettuce.
It's like window shopping, Paul. I mean, it's a browsing experience.
It is. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's window shopping. Yeah, it really is. Well, Heather,
all right, y'all.
I think that we will descend into madness if we keep talking about malls and shopping anymore that we already have. But thank y'all for keeping up with us as long as you have. If you're new to the show, we're episode 233. A lot of folks actually tell us that they discovered the show at some point and are working their way up,
I love that.
up through, our back catalog, where I'm like, oh, you must really like our voices.
I know, I love it.
Because I can't stand the sound of myself, but thank you. But yeah, I mean, we have covered a lot of ground, so
yeah, we have.
That's awesome. If you are joining us mid journey, then welcome. Glad to have you. Thanks to everybody who's been with us from the very beginning, and those of you who might be joining us after the fact and listening to this on a delay of sorts.
I just want to get all y'all in a room and give you a big hug.
Big hugs.
One of these days, maybe that'll happen. But until then, stay sexy out there. And I will be Heather forever. I promise.
You sure will. And I will be Sarah for ever also. Couldn't think of anything to rhyme. Have such a good day.
Later.